maybe to tell you a little bit about my background is that I was born in Japan, but have hardly lived there. I only lived there for 6 years, and then because of my parents, we traveled quite a bit and moved to different countries. Now I'm in Canada, and I grew up in Canada, but also a lot of my upbringing was in the US and Europe. So this theme of seeking home and homesick is an ongoing subject for many of my works. This specific work title is actually Furusato. It's a Japanese word, and it actually doesn't have a exact translation in English. And Furusato just simply translates to old village or old home. But it has such a deep feeling of nostalgia and warmth to it that it can't be translated in English. Then often people say Furusato, the home of the heart, because you feel so attached to this place and you have such memory of childhood in such a place. So in the theme of home of the justice and freedom, I decided to base this work on my experience of meeting this Japanese woman. She was a patient in the Bay Area in San Francisco many, many years ago when I was volunteering as a music entertainer. This Japanese woman who was probably already in her late 80s or so, if she lived now, she would be well over in her hundreds. So I think she has passed away. And more the reason why I wanted to dedicate this work to her. She signed up with me every week, and she wanted me to play Japanese children's songs, and strictly children's songs. And so we would play together. And I mean, I had this like a portable keyboard that would drag across the floor between rooms to rooms, and would do this. And yes, I would play and we would sing together. And most of these songs I knew also by heart. So another thing I was really touched by her was her story behind why she wanted to listen to these children's songs. And she told me that she had, after the Second World War, she had married an American man, and they moved together from Japan to the US. And she was then cut off from her family, and she was never able to return. And so it was really about, getting the songs of childhood song was to make her feel at home, make her feel not lonely in this foreign land that she didn't really know how to speak English also at the time. And she told me that gave her strength. And I thought that was such a beautiful, beautiful story.
The work that we'll be premiering will feature some of these children's songs.
Yes.
Is that a good guess on my part?
Yes, it is. So this is in 4 short separate movements, and 3 of them is inspired specifically by different Japanese children's songs. One is called Amefuri. It translates to rainfall. It's a very more light-hearted piece and rhythmical. And then Hamabe no Uta is Song of the Seashore. It's a little bit more melancholic. And then the last movement closes off with inspired by Akatombo. Akatombo is a red dragonfly. And this one is very, very nostalgic, talking about the homeland. And so, so these are the separate movements. And the electronic part, I have written for a lot of electronics and electronic alone and combination with instruments. And often I get a little bit deep into the sounds themselves. With this one, it was more about sounds for me that evoked nostalgia, and I was trying to collect sound sources that you would recognize, and you may feel some sense of nostalgia or some kind of scene or location specific type of memory recall. So I wanted to sort of play around a little bit with that. There are synthetic sounds as well. So it's a lot of mixture, but a lot of nature sound. I'm often drawn to nature, and specifically for this piece, that calls that it's often, you know, all of them are really about nature in some extent. So those elements are also embedded, and you would recognize it. You would really hear the sounds of the forest and the sea, or the summer, being in the summer, you know, in a grass field.